We must get away. But first, we must talk. That is, I must talk, for until now you've done all the talking. You've told me about your life. Now I will tell you about mine, so that we know each other through and through before we begin on our journey together. My secrets are known to everybody. You see, my mother was not of noble birth, but came of quite plain people. She was brought up with the ideas of equality and women's independence and that kind of thing. And she had a decided aversion to marriage. Therefore, when my father proposed to her, she said she wouldn't marry him. And then she did it just the same. My mother was taken sick. What kind of sickness it was? I don't know. But she fell often into convulsions, and she used to hide herself in the garret or in the garden. And sometimes she stayed out all night. Then came the big fire, of which you have heard. The house, the stable and the barn were burned down, and this under circumstances which made it look as if the fire had been set on purpose. For the disaster occurred the day after our insurance expired, and the money sent for renewal of the policy was delayed by the messenger's carelessness, so that it came too late. Oh, what does it matter? We were without a roof over our heads. We had to sleep in the carriages. My father didn't know where to get money for the rebuilding of the house. Then my mother suggested we try to borrow from a childhood friend of theirs, a brick manufacturer living not far from here. My father got the loan, but was not permitted to pay any interest, which astonished him. And so the house was built up again. Do you know whose money it was? My mother's. Do you know who the brick manufacturer was? My mother's lover. Do you know who set fire to our house? My mother! There had been no settlement. My mother possessed a small fortune of her own, which she had not wanted to leave in my father's possession, so she invested with her friend. Exactly! He kept it! All this came to my father's knowledge. He couldn't bring suit. He couldn't pay his wife's lover. He couldn't prove it was his wife's money. That was my mother's revenge, because he had made himself master in his own house. At that time, he came near killing himself. It was even rumoured that he tried and failed. But he took a new lease of life, and my mother had to pay for what she had done. My sympathies were with my father, but I took my mother's side, for I was not aware of the true circumstances. From her, I learnt to suspect and hate men, for she hated the whole sex, as you have probably heard. And I promised her, on my oath, that I would never become a man's slave.